Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Village Voices. My name's John Snader. I'm the president and CEO of Brethren Village. And this series is to introduce and make familiar to you different people inside the Brethren Village community or friends of Brethren Village to give you a little bit better idea of what's happening here at your village. Today, my guest is Rick Chambers. Rick is the Director of Food and Dining Services for Brethren Village. Rick is a member of the Sodexo team. Sodexo has been a prioritized and long-standing partner of Brethren Village. And our topic today is the railroad dinner that you have planned. So Rick, why don't you share a little bit about what is this railroad dinner and maybe what was your thinking in offering this railroad dinner to residents?
Yeah, of course. The railroad dinner we're having on May the 29th at 5:30 in the Fireside Lounge. So if you're interested in coming, first of all, say it's filling up, so make that call right away. But we came up with the idea of the railroad dinner. We had a series of events. We did the Gilded Age dinner, which was, piggybacking on your training that you did with the residents on the Gilded Age. And then we also did a high tea, which we did a couple weeks ago. And then the railroad dinner kind of piggybacks on that because it's an era right around the Gilded Age. So in that time, of course, everybody liked quality food. They liked fresh food.
You still do.
They still do. Although if you go onto a train now, you'll probably get something out of a vending machine or something a little less than fresh. But from when the railroad started, they didn't really care about what the passenger needed to do to eat, so that they were left to their own devices. So they call it from soot to souffle because back in the early days they had to get whatever they could at the station, or they'd go to a station and they get 20 minutes at a railroad house or something like that, and they had to eat and get back on the train within 20 minutes, and it was kind of a mob scene. And they talked about some of the food that was at the stations, the leaden biscuits, that were old, the week-old coffee, and it really wasn't good quality food.
Maybe for the viewers, we could just maybe pause here. So we've talked about a number of different names. So we've talked about the Gilded Age.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking? Between 1865 to what? 1900.
Right, correct.
So the Gilded Age is that time about rise of American industry, a lot of the wealth that we think about with the Rockefellers, the Vanderbilts, the Newport mansions. But one of the great innovations was the development of the railroads.
Mm-hmm.
So in a very short period of time, the United States is really covered by a whole bunch of railroads.
Correct.
So this idea of the railroad dinner kind of is expressing what? The travel, who people were traveling, kind of what was involved. And as the railroads are making a stop, let's say maybe in Marietta, they would stop at a place called the Railroad House.
Correct.
So maybe we can pause there and say there's a little bit of something in your history that has a special interest about a thing like a railroad dinner. Do you want to share that?
Yeah, from 1989 until 2006, I owned the Railroad House in Marietta, and we did come up with some history. We took a wall out or something like that to put in a shower for one of the rooms, and we found these old bills from I think it was around 1900 from Thomas Scott. So we also found a medicine bottle and a spoon, and we found out that Thomas Scott had a heart condition, so it was laudanum. And we actually made history because they thought he was one of the presidents of the Pennsylvania Railroad at one time. We've also found pictures that one of the owners before me had, old pictures, and it looked like Colonel Scott was standing behind the bar at one time. So from all this, this sparked an interest in this sort of thing in this era because you started off with really lousy food in the stations and things like that. Then they started stopping at all these houses. There was a Logan House that Colonel Scott started in Altoona, which became a very, very expensive resort at one time. Presidents went there and dignitaries. But also there was the Keystone Hotel Network that he started, and one of those places was the Railroad House in Marietta here in Lancaster County. So very, very interesting time. The food started getting a little better. They would have, of course, at the Railroad House, of course, the food was better when I was there, but when they started out, the food was good,
right.
yes. But so the railroad houses was a system, but then they realized with the Gilded Age that all these hotels like Delmonico's in New York, that they wanted more of a hotel thing on the actual railroad. So that's when they came up with the idea of getting George Pullman to come up with, first of all, hotel cars.
Mm-hmm.
But the Blue Bloods didn't want cooking done in there where they slept. So that he pushed that for a number of years, but then the railroad said, no, we want to put dining separate, which they did then up until the 60s. But it was at a loss, but they realized that if they wanted to keep their customers happy and have them come back onto the trains, that they needed to offer really good food. And of course, trains going where they're going could pick up fresh food at every stop. They could pick up fresh, proteins, meats, vegetables, fruits, and all those sorts of things. And they would have a chef who was in charge of, all the different, recipes. So you can see here I have a Pennsylvania Railroad dining car recipe book. So about 365 recipes. I wonder where they came up with that.
Mm-hmm.
But also service instructions and all that sort of thing. So they would hire a chef that may have come from a nice hotel in New York, and then he would teach all of the cooks along the line how to prepare these things.
Mm-hmm.
So with the Railroad House, we used to have Railroad House dinners, and we would come up with some of the favorites that I came through the old recipes. For people to try, different appetizers, salads, entrees, and desserts. And I'll go over the menu if you want to go over that.
Well, I've seen the menu. I think this is a great teaser for any of our viewers, that if they haven't made a reservation, you'll probably want to get a reservation after you hear the menu. So why don't you share a little bit what this is?
So the first thing, appetizer, is a canapé Lorenzo. Lorenzo was, of course, one of those chefs who came up with things for the Seminole Limited, which would be a railroad down in Florida. But it's a crab and cheese canapé, which is actually on a piece of bread. And they put the crab meat on there, and then they put a bowl of different cheeses on the top with a little bit of mustard and some other spices and things, and melt it so that the round cheese thing would look kind of cool on the top, and it was just an interesting thing. They'd put watercress on there, of course, because you have to have your garnish on there as well. Mm-hmm. So that sounds good to me. The lettuce and tomato salad with Illinois Central salad dressing. Illinois Central was known for their salad dressing. It was something that a lot of people appreciated, and they sold cookbooks and things like that after that. It's kind of like a Thousand Island dressing, but it has more vegetables and ingredients in there. I think there's little chopped eggs and things like that as well. And they put that over simple lettuce and lettuce and tomatoes. So we get good lettuce and tomatoes from the farm down the street. So we'll do that as well. The Reading line, of course, was a big railroad in our area as well, in addition to the Pennsylvania Railroad. So we're doing the diamond cheese biscuits that they used to do, because their logo is a diamond. So it's a cheese biscuit in the shape of a diamond. We may do some other things. I'm toying around with it. At the Railroad House, we did some things that were a little different, and James Porterfield, who wrote a book on dining, he loved it. So I might do that too. I don't know. might be too much, but
Keep
we'll
us
see.
guessing.
Keep
us
us
guessing
guessing.
until we get there.
Yeah, only the people that go there know what's going to happen with that. Okay. The main courses, and we're going to have tasting of all three of these. You don't have to pick one. You can try all three. From the Atlantic coastline, fricassee of lamb with dumplings. So it's like a fricassee is like a lamb stew with lots of flavor and spices and vegetables. But then we have these nice bread dumplings in there too, which helps to soak up the juice
Good
and
stuff.
and I just thought that sounded good. Canadian National Railroad, or chicken a la Stanley. Once again, Stanley was probably one of the chefs on the railroad there. So it was a chicken breast, but it's sautéed in a cream sauce with fried bananas. And I just thought that was an interesting taste together, so we'll try that as well. And then from the Pennsylvania Railroad, the same railroad that was at the Railroad House, it's a steak forestier. Forestier means mushrooms. It's like a French dish, but rich beef gravy. Has some tomatoes in there. I think there's a little bacon in there too, and makes a really rich gravy. And then also with the garnished with sautéed vegetables. So bucateri. So that's where you get the vegetables in there. You have to remember all these chefs on these railroads had all these ingredients ready to go. Just like in a fine restaurant, you would saute to order. Now you may have some of the, for example, in the lamb stew, you may have the lamb already cooked. And if you do a fricassee of like lobster or something like that, you may have that already cooked. But most of these ingredients are fresh. They didn't have a lot of refrigeration. They had some. They had ice. And they would make these things up to order. So just like we do in chives today, if you need something done specially, you can have it done because you have all the ingredients and then it's cooked to order. Potatoes lyonnaise come with that as well. They're sliced potatoes with lots of flavor in those good things called butter and herbs and spices. For dessert, we have a Pennsylvania Railroad cabinet pudding. I found this from a recipe I looked up from the 1890s, and back in the Victorian times, they also liked to do these custard bowls. So it's kind of like that. So it's a custard, so be like a creme brulee or something like that. But they put in fruits and then cake as well to make it heartier. So we're going to have that as a dessert, and we'll put a little sauce, secret sauce on top of that as well. So
sounds like a low calorie kind of meal. This is a rib sticker, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a low calorie meal, but we'll wish away the
There
calories.
you go. That's it. As I sometimes say, gluttony's not a sin at Brethren Village.
Yeah.
You've been describing this and kind of that high culinary level. Maybe it would be helpful and interesting for our viewers to know a little bit about the chefs at Chives. Like, what does this do for a chef at Chives? I mean, do they like these kinds of challenges? I mean, being able to research and prepare that. Just maybe give us a little bit of an insight into the mind of a chef as both a professional and an artist, and what that would look like at Brethren Village.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a chef is an artist. I mean, you don't get into this business unless you want to please people with what you provide for them. It's not just a meal, it is a creation. So Chef Carr came from larger restaurants as well. He has a lot of experience in the area. He loves this sort of thing. Also, we have Mark, who is a CIA graduate, so he has very good culinary skills, and he loves his specialty, in my opinion, is sauces. He's a good saucier. Then you have Brian and you. All the others have various different skills that they bring to the table. So, like a Mike might be great at getting everything ready, all the prep. And so, yeah, everybody works together as a team. So this will take all of them working together to get it done. Some things will be done ahead of time, and then of course we'll get the bakers to do the dessert. That'll be something they never saw before, probably. You know, a recipe from the 1890s. I haven't seen it anywhere before, and I saw that in the menu that they brought up. It's like, well, yeah, that's something we're going to find out how to do. So cabinet pudding apparently was a thing around the turn of the century, but I don't see it anymore. So
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've come across that. So maybe some of you have, but if you haven't, here's your opportunity to take in the railroad dinner. I think for some who enjoyed the Gilded Age dinner, it wasn't just the culinary, but it was also the service,
right.
Which you've already touched upon. You know, as the railroads were beginning to expand, more people were traveling, more people were stopping. There was expectations of higher culinary abilities. Service came with that. So you're kind of taking us down memory lane to the early days of what cooking, what restaurants, what hospitality, what top-rate service was, and I think we're all looking forward to that very, very much. So maybe you just want to do another shameless plug for the date, the time of the railroad dinner, and maybe you want to give a shout out to that number that they want to call if they want to get their name on the list.
Can do. So we'll be doing it on May the 29th at 5:30 in Fireside Lounge over at Chives. So the number to call is 717-581-4350. And I'm sure Tammy Bender will be there to punch your ticket once you get into the dining room. So be ready.
So when you hear all aboard,
we're
ready to go with that.
Yeah, the NBC bells will be ringing, and you just come right into the dining room.
Well, I think anybody who attended the Gilded Age dinner will tell you that every detail was just down to perfection. So I just say I really am looking forward to this meal. I think a lot of our residents, they know good food. They take great pride in the food program and in the chefs who enjoy creating these kinds of dinners. So hopefully this has whetted your appetite to enjoy the railroad dinner that Rick's described for us. And as always, we invite you to participate here at BV, where vibrant living includes some absolutely superb food and service. So until the next time, we're out interviewing a resident, a team member, or a friend of Brethren Village for Village Voices. I wish you all a very good day. Thanks.